Hello, welcome back to Bonsai Druid. Um, I have a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and work on the cuttings that I had taken from my green isle banyan. I stuck a few of them into some small to medium-sized pots and just let them go to town and grow. I didn't think some of these would take because the bases were rather thick cuttings. I didn't really think that they would take. I don't have a lot of success with that, but these ones all took, so I'm loving it. I think there's like 4 or 5 just in this one bucket. So I'm just going to kind of go through and trim the tops off of some of them. I'm not at this time. I'm not trying to grow these into really big bonsai specimens because they'll grow plenty. From my working with them so far, getting them to thicken up isn't really that big of a problem, so it's keeping them kind of small that's the problem. The leaf size I can do a pretty good job of getting back to like a smaller leaf size, but I'm just going to trim off some of these longer tops. You can see this one right here. It's got a nice curving trunk coming up, and then it branches over this side. It's got another branch on this side, and a piece down here that's on a bend, so I'll probably keep it. But I think I'm going to need to trim it back because what will happen is these will start getting way too thick because they're carrying all this extra foliage and food, and while that may help thicken the trunk, it also thickens up these branches pretty quick, and in my experience that just can get out of hand real easy. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this first one back. Okay, so here's the first one. As we can see, the trunk comes up, curves over to this side, and extends out this way. It's got another branch that curves up over here, and this one towards the back is on the lowest bend. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that one first. Kind of see it. So you can see there's a central branch here, and then branches going off each side. They're actually alternating, not by much, but they are. So I'm going to trim back to some of these lower leaves here and trim off this bigger leaves. So this one I'm going to take, I'll leave that one, that one. I want an outward facing one. So I'm going to go to there. This branch on this side has a growing tip that is still developing. It wasn't as long as this one over here, but since it's further back on the interior of the branch, I'm going to cut it to this outward facing leaf down here. And then I'm going to take off these interior leaves, at least this lower one. Possibly this one. Let's see. think I'm going to take this back a little further. There. That way all three of these will get some light. I need that one over there. These are alternating. I'll leave them. I might lose this bottom leaf, but maybe not. So then we come up and we've got this little dead stick here. This little dead stump. Let's see. This branch is already getting kind of dominant. But it does zigzag back nicely, so I think I'm going to keep this as the leader for the moment, and this one's going to become another side branch up here at this bend. To get it there, we have to at least cut back to here. And if I don't develop some back budding along here, then I may have to take this off a little closer to here, and usually a bud would form at that site of that cut. And up here, I'm going to take this off this outer leaf here. And take this top down. We have a leaf. Leaves back here. This one. I think even these ones could go. So I'm going to leave this one here. There's a stump here, actually, I should trim off too. And one right here. There we go. Now, you can see this one does have some bends in it, so I'm kind of hoping maybe a little bud might form at these little bends and give me some smaller branches that may come off of there. So that would create some more growth down here to where I can trim back to, or create some primary or secondary branches along that. Well, this is probably the leader, so that's more of a trunk. These would be primary branches. But we'll see where it goes. That's where it's at right now. Didn't really have to do much. This next one is going to be a little bit harder to see because I planted it kind of low in the pot. It's like at least this far down. And there's also possibly another couple little ones growing under it. So in order to make it easier to see, you can see that this branch here is definitely going to have to get trimmed back. So let's do that so we can at least see what's going on. Okay, that opened it up so we can start to see the trunk. See the trunk down here? Way down here. Kind of comes up on a slant. I have a branch coming off this way. It comes back. Comes back towards the interior. But I had to trim it back just to see what else was going on under here. Up here I have a long shoot growing straight up out of the top of this branch vertically, and another one behind it that could grow straight out, except there's not room down here in the pot. So that's that side. I would say, taking back a lot of this bigger growth, this would be one. There's a lower one down there. It'd be better to start a new leader from. Or not a leader, but a new branch. There's also a stump on this side that I don't need. Behind this is a lower drop branch. I could cut back to that. This will probably have to get put into another pot in order to accommodate what's going on. Now this is a lower branch that I'm going to remove because it grows out of the underside of this trunk. And it's just going to drag the ground. It could become a root cutting, but I don't really need to do that, so I'm just going to take it off. If I can get there. I might have to use these. There we go. And you can kind of see a little more under this tree. Before there was a lot of greenery going on under here. Now it's cleaned up. You can see oops, sorry guys, I know the camera. So this base of a trunk that comes up, it comes over to this side. There's this little whip right here. And then some longer branching coming off this end. It's probably more than I need. Unless this was to become like some sort of cascade. But I'm going to see that this grows out and over. The edge of the pot here. I don't think this is a branch that I need. I think it's going to thicken this part of the trunk, and I've already got taper there. I don't want to lose that taper. Same thing with what's going on. Well, this up here, see, but it's in the middle there. I would take that off. And this one's really extra, but I'll leave a couple of leaves on it so I can see it a little better. So this one now ended up removing most of that growth. But I have a start of a nice little trunk for a small tree, a ground hugging kind of a tree. Low branching, hey, if I was a kid I'd get up here and walk along this trunk line type of a tree. And then there's a couple little babies that are still growing in here. I'm going to leave those alone. So that's number 2. Number 3. It has a bit more in here. There's a weed. It's going to be a little harder to show you. It's hard to see it because of the color of the gravel, of the dirt. There's a trunk right here. Starts down here. Kind of comes up, sweeps along and low, up over here, into a fork, and then another fork. So that could eventually be stood upright and be a nice curvy, informal upright, or it could be like a creeper type of a tree, or possibly cascading. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just take off a lot of the bulk of it. Which way do we want to go? This one. Clear this top. There's a fork here, but I don't want this part. I also don't want this part. I'm not sure how close I can get it. And there's some yellow leaves under here I don't need. Probably not getting enough light. This is a little tiny sucker growing in a nice inside of a bend, so I want that removed. I don't want that in there. So, not sure if you can really see it, but that's one. One little tree on a kind of a long, curvy trunk. This next one behind it comes pretty straight up. So right here, this little guy in the front of it's one we just trimmed. And this up here, I am just going to shorten those trunks, take out the interior leaf. I may leave that one down there, and I think I may take the rest of this off because I feel like it'll be too thick. And back here, I'm going to only leave those two leaves. So that's that little guy right there. Then over here, there's a leaf down here that's actually attached to a skinny shoot. We're going to ignore those because they're just green right now. They haven't hardened off at all or really done much. But this one over here has quite a bit going on. It needs to be removed. So if we look at the base, First I would remove this leaf because this is like a leftover where a shoot grew from. And that's this long shoot right here, which is too long and I don't even want it, so that's all probably coming off. I'll leave a little bit of stump. There's a little bit of a bend there, but this one here is coming all the way off. As long, let's see. I'll just take it. The leaf behind it, I'm going to remove. And there's one here that's kind of like in the crotch. It's the middle. I'll take that one out. This here, I take the top off to this other leaf that's bending back this way, so I can get a little more bend in this here. And then this other side of the fork, I'm going to take off the leaves at the bottom of those new shoots. Including the one at the back. It's a little discolored on the end. So I've got it here. Now I could also remove this branch here. It's kind of long. This one comes a little more straight up. Or I could leave it, and then I go from single trunk to a double to 1, 2, 3. I think we'll leave it for now and see what happens. But I am going to pinch the new leaf buds out. So that's all the ones in this pot that are ready to go. That was pot number 3. And last and smallest, but not least, is this one. Don't mind the toothpicks, they're just reminding me where I put the fertilizer. This one has a small rock over here that it's got a little bend in it. It helps me put it near tree trunks and stuff like that. It kind of hugs the tree trunk. Keeps it upright even if I have too much water coming out of my watering can or it's raining hard. And then there's a piece of rose quartz or something over here. So there he is. He's small and stubby. This side withered back. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that. Not sure how far back I'll go before I might see some green. Nope, that's all wood. Let's go back a little farther. I'm holding on to the base of the tree with my right hand because, there we go, because this tree just needs the extra help. So that's made this side a little more smooth as it comes up this way. We'll leave that. Now the other one's of course coming out nearly the same side. So I'm going to have to clip away all the dead and find what's left here. There's another withered branch. Hello? And then I think on this very end, there, right there, I don't think there's anything green left in it. We're going to find out. But I'm also going to remove this inner leaf because I don't see that doing me any. No, I'm going to take it off. So I can get to here and see what I'm doing. Well, that's all wood. 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 There's some growth there. There's some sap coming out. It's a tiny spot to get into. There's like a bit of dead wood on the underside. Oh, I just took all that off. Well, shoot. Okay, well, I took off a little more of that other branch than I wanted to, but there's still a green leaf at the base here. And I cleared this section out of dead, and then now there's just a shoot on this side. So this will be almost fully reconstructed from this teeny tiny little stump of a cutting. Fortunately, the potting soil I have doesn't let you see it very well. So there. That's how big it is. Very tiny. Well, thanks for sticking around to watch me trim up this green Isle Banyan cuttings. I hope you're able to see it. I know sometimes I get my arm in the way of it a little bit too much. But I got all these guys trimmed up, so they can take their time growing, and I'll take a little bit of time looking for some pots for them. Some of these are kind of low, and I'm going to need to maybe move them into a pot that isn't so steep-sided, so they have room to grow above the pot. Otherwise, look at how hard they are to see. I have to tip it all the way over for anyone to be able to see it. But they were just cuttings, so they're just in here temporarily. I can futz around with them, and they have enough soil so that they won't dry up if I'm gone for the day at work. And also give them enough room to spread their roots out and just get a lot of vigor going and a lot of root growth. So when I do transplant them, they'll do well. But at least they'll have a beginning shape, and not me just ignoring them and letting them get way out of hand. So thanks for watching. Come back again and check out Bonsai Druid. I'm Suzy. Have a good night.